Hello and welcome back to my series of videos from Bolivia, from La Paz, which at nearly 12,000 feet elevation has the distinction of being the highest capital city on Earth. When it comes to altitude and earth forms, Bolivia is a land of superlatives, and because of its landlocked geography, it's also one of South America's less traveled frontiers, whose relative isolation adds to its fascination. Today, of the more than 2 million people who live in and around La Paz, the city maintains a strong indigenous flavor. As with the country at large, many people here cling to their native Quechua or Aymara languages, in addition to speaking Spanish. Religion and culture here is, shall we say, a blend. I'm walking in a neighborhood that's an example of how many Bolivians, although ostensibly Roman Catholic, hold on to their traditional beliefs. In fact, of the total population of Bolivia, more than 90% are ostensibly Roman Catholic, but the percentage of those who do not hold on to traditional religious and cultural practices is most likely in the low single digits. This is the Calle de Brujas, the Witches Street, where you find La Paz's famous Witches Market. Here, medicine men and women sell magic cures for just about anything. Small figures of condors, which are supposed to bring good travels, amulets of the Inca sun, supposedly good for energy, and desiccated frogs, believed to bring good luck. Let me show you something that at first glance may seem macabre, but is reputed to be among the most powerful items you'll find in this market. These are llama fetuses, along with, beside them, baby llamas. Among my favorite items here is powdered dog's tongue, and it's really popular with women. Wives and girlfriends secretly add it to their man's food to supposedly make them more loyal. These are among the most important offerings that one can make to Pachamama, the Mother Earth goddess, still adored by many indigenous people here, and to place her on at least an equal footing with the Virgin Mary. Even Bolivia's best known ex-president, Evo Morales, is known to have made offerings to Pachamama. People who worship Pachamama typically make these offerings the first Friday of each month, or whenever a new building starts to go up, or whenever they start a new relationship or endeavor, whether it's a new business or a new boyfriend or girlfriend. In case you're wondering, Bolivians don't go out and kill pregnant llamas just to obtain their fetuses. Most of the small ones you see here are from miscarriages, and the larger ones, the fully born ones, are from stillbirths, or else from the slaughter of a llama that just happened to be pregnant. I'm here in Plaza Murillo, the seat of government in the Bolivian capital, named after Pedro Domingo Murillo, who was an independence hero. This plaza is, besides being very beautiful, is an unusual one in that it can truly be said it's been literally fought over. There was armed conflict here on at least 10 occasions, both during the colonial period and the post-colonial Republican period of the nation, with the bloodshed even extending as late as 1993, when different factions, the National Police on one hand and the Army on the other, had a shootout here. Just walking around on a beautiful sunny day in La Paz like this one, with people enjoying themselves here, you would never guess it. Well, I just witnessed the changing of the guard here at the historic presidential palace, which is a bit unusual if you consider the casualness with which some local passers-by seem unfazed. The historic presidential palace behind me is called the Casa Quemado, the burned house. It may seem strange on the surface, but this presidential palace was indeed burned, not once but twice during the 19th century. It was never destroyed, of course, but irate citizens stormed it on 2 occasions and set fire to it. And for whatever reason, the name burned house has stuck with the place. A lot of things involving Bolivian politics are, shall we say, unusual. There hasn't been a president who's lived in the Casa Quemado in a while. And a new luxuriant presidential palace has been built on the southern part of the city in a very upscale area. One of the most recent and certainly the most infamous examples of the intrigue involving this palace involved former President Gilberto Villarreal, who was considered to be friendly toward Bolivia's poor and who came under assault politically by certain elites within the country. And in 1946, a mob, with the approval of those elites, literally dragged the president out of the palace. They pushed him over the second floor balcony behind me, and as he lay in the street begging for his life, they dragged him across the street to the place where he died, where he was assassinated. And I'll show you that in a moment. Interestingly, however, a few years later, there was a kind of collective remorse about what happened to Villarreal, and a statue was placed at the spot where he was killed. Let's take a look. Well, here is the statue of the slain former president, which stands beneath the lamppost from which he was hung. Things do get dramatic in Bolivia. In more recent years, the drama shifted toward Bolivia's recently ex-president Evo Morales, the first indigenous person elected president of this country, who managed to stay in power for 15 years by changing the constitution. He was, however, voted out of office, but not so simply. On the final attempt to extend his tenure in office, he was trailing by 5 points in a referendum when suddenly the country's television stations covering the election results went dark. And after a few minutes of interruption, when coverage resumed, Morales was up 5 points. At which point there proceeded to be a agitation that involved international election observers. And to make a longer story shorter, Morales fled the country, first to Mexico, then to Argentina. Well, the interim president from the opposition party, who served briefly, a woman, remains in jail on alleged corruption charges. In the subsequent election, Bolivians chose to elect as their new president Evo Morales' former finance minister. And in the meantime, Evo, as he is often called here, has returned to the country, to his home in Cochabamba. And at least some Bolivians wonder what other suspense awaits. Although this lovely square has been left intact, you will notice two outstanding things that just don't seem to mesh here. The first is behind the Parliament building, the yellowish, colonnaded, post-colonial building is a massive, modernistic block building that rises several stories behind it. Well, that's the new Parliament building in essence. And similarly, behind the Casa Quemado, the presidential palace, if you look up, you see a high-rise building, which is, of course, houses a number of ministerial offices of the executive branch. The construction of both of these high-rises behind the respective historic buildings of the executive and legislative branches occurred during the tenure of Evo Morales. At the very top of the new presidential office building is a multi-floor luxury penthouse. I'm here in a lovely little park named after the Latin American revolutionary leader Antonio José de Sucre, who was also Bolivia's second president. The park is technically Sucre Plaza, but no one calls it that. It's referred to as Plaza de San Pedro, for the neighborhood of San Pedro that surrounds it. But I didn't come here to show you the park. Rather, I came here to show you one of the world's most unusual prisons. The prison houses some 3,000 inmates and their families, including children. Most of the people inside this prison are awaiting trial. And most of the people inside this prison are free to come and go. In fact, there are no prison guards. There are no federal authorities governing its conduct. There are only a handful of local police whose main responsibility is to guard the perimeter of the prison to make sure that things take place orderly in and around the neighborhood. So these people are outsiders, family members who are lined up to visit inmates inside. In fact, people come and go from this prison with relative ease. And until about 10 years ago, perhaps a little longer, it was perfectly acceptable as well as legal for tourists to enter this prison. It wasn't encouraged, but it happened. At least 2 books have been written about this place, including one that I can recall the title to, Marching Sugar. Sugar, of course, being cocaine. And during the halcyon days of prison tourism here, one could easily go inside and purchase the base for cocaine from prisoners. In fact, cocaine production continues inside until this day. So what's the deal? How could this happen? Well, the local residents here do not want this prison here. They never have. And the government actually years ago purchased land on the edge of the city to transfer the prison population there. But nothing has been done, nothing has been built. This odd detention center remains intact. So why? Well, to put it in a short form, it's the C word: corruption. Well, one of the things that you must do when in La Paz is take the Telefedico. And I don't mean just a single ride. This is a marvelous system of cable cars that crisscross this city, which is in a natural bowl, and so it makes it accessible. And that's what I'm about to do. It was a little difficult to try to explain to the ticket agent that I didn't want to go on just one route, that I want to take an aerial tour of La Paz, more or less. But he provided me a map to let me show him what I wanted to do, and he explained the places I will have to pay. So it all worked out. And here we go. Masks continue to be obligatory in Bolivia. I'm in a car with 4 other people, all masked, and up we go. There's quite a wind noise creeping in around the edges of the doors that gives it kind of a spooky feel. But there's nothing spooky about the ride. It's very smooth. The ultimate station of this line above La Paz. We now take the second tram. So we made it to the top of the rim. We're at El Alto, and this line crosses El Alto. You've just seen that jet plane come out of nowhere, careening just over the buildings below me. That's the approach to the airport. Not much margin for error. El Alto is the city above La Paz. It has a somewhat checkered reputation for crime, neighborhoods that are allegedly not safe. It's actually the fourth largest city in Bolivia after La Paz, which is the third largest. It's absolutely fantastic up here. It's a sunny day. The volcanoes are out. Illimani can be seen very clearly, only slightly hiding behind clouds. And it's 21,000 plus feet elevation. So from this standpoint, the world of Greater La Paz is your oyster. My stay in La Paz is more than pleasant. With spectacular views of the surrounding mountains, including from my hotel's terrace. And after dark, despite the chill in the air, the scene around nearby Plaza San Francisco is dependably lively.